Hey everybody, I'm Robert and I'd like to welcome you back to the Nürburgring. Today we're doing just the normal day-to-day errands, running around, checking on cars, picking up parts, and then figured that I would answer a few questions that I had seen pop up on the YouTube comments lately, which I have to come again and say thank you guys so much for all the comments. Honestly, if you guys weren't bringing so many ideas to the table, we wouldn't have half of the videos that we have. So it's really, really cool for all the feedback that you're giving, all the input you're giving, and more importantly, the conversations that we're having. One thing that we've noticed quite a bit, and it's really interesting, is that when the comment section starts to fill up on our normal videos that maybe get 10 to 20,000 views, it's really good commentary, really good feedback, and even discussions amongst you guys. But then when they start getting over that and maybe start reaching other areas or other corners or dark holes of the internet, that's when the idiots come out and start saying stupid stuff. So it's really fun that you can see when that difference comes in. And I would have to say that I'm really enjoying the smaller videos that are staying more local, because that's where we're getting better interaction. So that's a whole part of the concept, I think, of Apex as a whole, where I don't want to grow Apex to a point that it's too much business and people are just coming in and becoming numbers. That's the same thing with the YouTube channel. We do really ultimately want to keep it high quality and low, not low numbers, I guess, not worrying about the overall number of subscriptions and the number of people on the channel, because we can keep it small and exciting and entertaining for you guys. So let's keep that up. Why don't you guys keep going in the comment sections? Like I said, every single video, the idea has come from you guys, and I'm really, really appreciative of that. And when I go through the comment sections, really proud to see how well you guys conduct yourself and convey your ideas and questions. So good job, you guys. This topic right here is also from that. There were, in I think 4 different videos, a comment asking me what my thoughts were on autonomous driving and if I'm just completely up in arms about it and totally against it. And actually, it's a really good question, and it's one that I would have to say no. I have zero problem with autonomous driving as long as it's kept within certain limitations. If we're all of a sudden told that we can do nothing but autonomous driving, then I definitely have a problem with that. But if we can find a way for autonomous cars to be on the road with self-driven cars, then I think that's fantastic. Of course, people want to be able to go out and drive their car. I'm in a specific case where I do only Nürburgring driving, and I'm only going out and enjoying the racetrack with my cars and things like that. I want to say only, maybe 90% of the time. So I might have a slightly different view about this. But one thing that I do a lot of is I drive from my house, which is in the Kaiserslautern area, up to Apex, and then from either Apex or our house in the Kaiserslautern area down to Italy. The very van that we're in right now has, I think, 64,000 kilometers on it, and that's in less than a year and a half. I bought it in March of 2019, and now in July of 20, we have 64,000 kilometers on the vehicle. That has a lot to do with a lot of trips back and forth to Italy and a ton of trips to Apex, 300 kilometers round trip, and to Italy, 2,000 kilometers round trip. The biggest thing that I face when I'm making those trips is I face a loss of time. If it's a 10-hour drive down to Italy, I'm always trying to look in my calendar and plan the trip at a time that I'm going to lose as little bit of work time as possible, as little productivity time as possible. The biggest issue for me is saying, okay, I'm going to drive down on a Tuesday and the office is full, and I feel honestly guilty when I'm looking at it from the aspect of saying, okay, I've got all my teams working, everyone might have questions for me, but I can't answer because I'm driving. So the options that you get are that you hire a driver, and that driver takes you down to Italy. But the question then becomes, what do you do once they're in Italy? Do they turn around and drive back and literally double the kilometers and take the vehicle that you might have, the transportation for short little things you want to do with them? Do they fly back and then they have to figure out how to get back to wherever they might need to be? Or do you drive yourself and you schedule your trips in off hours? So maybe the offices close at 5 o'clock, so you try and leave around 3, but then at that point you're not getting in until 1 or 2 in the morning, so you're exhausted the next day. Or do you fall back on the potential idea of having an autonomous car? And to be honest with you, right now, I think that having an autonomous car is probably one of the most practical ways to go about it, because you can actually work while you're driving. Obviously, I'm talking about full autonomy. Today, you still need to be alert with the vehicles that you have, but when you get to a full autonomous car, you can still work while you're driving. Maybe you've got your phone and you're able to text, you're able to talk, make phone calls. Who knows, you've got a display that's connected to your computer or something, and you could actually be in touch with the work world while you're traveling like that. And I think that would be, for me, the most practical, because you lose all of these different, I would say, negative points, which is having to figure out where your driver's going to go when you're not needing them. You don't have to worry about missing out on a ton of work time and things like that. So I do like that. And honestly, what happens when I'm driving myself? I get speeding tickets. I get flashed with the cameras that are roadside, and all of a sudden, that's frustrating. That's even more annoying. You're tempted to look at your phone. You're maybe pulling over so you can check a message or respond, and you are losing a lot of time. So right now, in this week, I'll have about 20 hours just from Italy and back, and then I would say from Apex to the Mitch Consulting main offices, I'll probably have this week maybe another 12 hours. So in 1 week, I'm talking about 32 hours of driving over the course of 7 days. I can get 37 hours of work time, 32 hours of work time back by either having a driver or being able to go with an autonomous situation. So believe me, I'm fully for autonomous driving when the time comes. There are a few hangups that we have with autonomous driving. One big issue that we have is liability. If I'm sitting in my driver's seat and the car is controlling itself, and it's just me in the car, and coming head on the other side of the road in their lane is a vehicle with a family of 4, and stepping out in the road is a husband, wife, and a kid, and they're stepping out into the road and we're going to hit them. What decides who gets saved in this situation, or who gets protected, at least who's attempted to be saved in this situation? When I'm driving and this happens, or a driver is driving and this happens, something occurs, and that's called an accident. An accident is when something unforeseeable happens and the driver reacts in a certain way or doesn't react in a certain way, and it was a situation that was unintended, and that reaction of the driver was simply instinct. All of a sudden, somebody might be killed, somebody might be seriously injured, but as long as nobody was speeding, nobody was drunk, nobody was high, it's considered an accident. If that family stepped out into the street, they're technically at fault for it. However, the moment that a car gets involved, and it's an autonomous car, one that is programmed and computer controlled, and that family steps out in the street, this vehicle takes an assessment of every scenario that it has, and it has to make a decision as to who's going to be protected and who's going to be spared in that moment. That's not a decision, actually. It's a pre-programmed chain of events. And somebody somewhere had to pre-program what that was and make that determination as to who's going to be saved, who's going to be spared. And this is where I think autonomous driving is going to hit its largest hiccup and its largest issue. And that's something that I don't know what the government regulations are going to say and how it's going to be clarified, because we are going in a direction where autonomous driving is coming, and it's going to be part of the future. But how do we make that determination? I know that there's some manufacturers that have said, we're going to protect whoever's in our vehicle. That's fine. I mean, if that's what everybody says, that number one is who's in the vehicle, I think that could be a good start. Obviously, I do also believe that with autonomous driving, there should be much less of these situations, because more and more these sensors are going to be reading the road and scanning far better than the human eye is, and it may actually prevent some of these. But you are going to have these few lawsuits and, I guess, moral dilemmas at the end of it when you look at who actually was saved and who actually was let go. But I think that we have a major hurdle to come over with government agencies all agreeing on how to handle that, and also government agencies requiring that the auto manufacturer who programmed that computer is not going to be held liable for it. But after that's all ironed out, like I said, I love technology. I love getting everything I can out of a vehicle. I'm all for electric cars once you can find a good sustained renewable resource such as solar power or something that can actually produce the power to operate them. Burning coal for an electric car doesn't seem like a whole, I would say, beneficial case, other than you feeling good on the front but looking like sleaze in the back. But I think that for me, electric cars, autonomous cars, these are things of the future. I'm all for it. I fully support it. And it will actually take a huge load off of my shoulders once I can do that, because I will potentially gain in a specific week 30, 40 hours that I might have spent in the vehicle balancing my time away from the typical connectivity. I know I would love it. My teams would probably like it. Customers would love to see that increased productivity that could come from it. So, hey, I think that you'll see that when a good solution's out, I'll probably be one of the first ones to buy it, because I think it could be very, very beneficial for me. Why don't you guys let me know below what you think? I mean, maybe some of you have a little bit more insight than I do about these regulations that have been put forward. Some of you might have some firsthand experience. Maybe you're working for these companies. And some of you may think, man, Robert, you're on crack. I want nothing to do with this. Don't take my rights to drive away. I'm with you there. I don't want my rights to drive taken away. I don't want to be told that I can't go to the Nürburgring and drive my cars on the Nürburgring. Just the same that I don't want to one day say, oh, I want a beautiful E30 M3 and I want to be able to enjoy it on the street, and I can't. So I hope the regulations go in a way that we can enjoy both. I hope that fossil fuel stays. I hope that electric also finds its place in the market. But anyways, you guys have been awesome. Please comment below any ideas you have for future videos, questions about Apex, questions about me, questions about the channel, the Nürburgring. We've got a really cool video actually that we're working on about the Nürburgring. I hope you guys like it. It's about what is the Nürburgring. Let me know in the comments below also what you might want to know about the Nürburgring, because we are actually doing an interview with them to get the information about the Nürburgring, and then we're going to share that with you. Anyhow, you guys are awesome. Really appreciate all the feedback and support, and we'll catch you guys later.